Hello everyone, welcome to this video on circuits and networks. In this video, we will do a problem on Z parameter. So this is the question. We have to find the Z parameters of this two-port network. There are two ways for solving this problem. So we'll see the first method. We know the Z parameter equations for a two-port network are V1 is equal to Z11 I1 plus Z12 I2 and V2 is equal to Z21 I1 plus Z22 I2. So let's take this network. So it's a T network actually. So the values of the resistances are 3, 4 and 6. So 3, 4, 6. So let's mark the input voltage and output voltage and input current and output current. In the first method, what we are doing is, in order to find Z11, we know that Z11 is equal to V1 by I1 with I2 is equal to 0 and Z21 is V2 by I1. Z21 is V2 by I1 with I2 is equal to 0. So we have to open circuit the output port. So we are going to open circuit the output port. So when the output port is open circuited, I2 will be equal to 0. I2 will be equal to 0. So there will be no current flowing through this path. So we have to find V1 by I1. So that is Z11. So V1 is equal to this current I1 will be flowing through this 3 ohm and 6 ohm. Since there is no current flowing through this resistor will not come into the picture. So we can write V1 is equal to 6 plus 3 into I1. So that is V1 is equal to 9 I1. V1 is equal to 6 plus 3 into I1. I2 is equal to 0. So V1 is equal to 9 I1. So Z11 is equal to V1 by I1 with I2 is equal to 0 and we have got that as 9 ohm. Okay. Next is we have to calculate V2 by I1. So V2 was the voltage across this 6 ohm and since there is no current flowing through this resistor, there is no voltage across this also. So we have to find the voltage across the 6 ohm resistance. So that voltage V2 will be equal to the current flowing through 6 ohm is only I1. So V2 will be equal to 6 I1. So we can write V2 is equal to 6 I1 or V2 by I1 is equal to 6. And V2 by I1 is Z21. So Z21 is V2 by I1 with I2 equal to 0 and that is equal to 6. So we have obtained Z11 and Z21. Now next is we have to find Z12 and Z22. For that we will open circuit the input port. So when the input port is open circuited, that is I1 is equal to 0. So we can draw the network. So here I1 equal to 0. This is I2. This is V1 and this is V2. So we have to find what is Z12 and what is Z22. Z12 is V1 by I2 with I1 equal to 0 and Z22 is V2 by I2 with I1 equal to 0. And since I1 is equal to 0, V2 will be equal to 4 plus 6 times I2 or V2 is equal to 10 times I2. This I2 current will be flowing through this 4 and 6 ohm. So V2 is equal to 10 times I2. V2 is equal to 6 plus 4 into I2 or V2 is equal to 10 times I2, or we can write V2 by I2 is equal to 10. This is Z22. So Z22 is V2 by I2 with I1 equal to 0, and we have obtained that as 10. Now we have to find what is V1 by I2. So V1 is the voltage across this 6 ohm. Here I1 is equal to 0. So now current is flowing through this 3 ohm resistor. So V is equal to I into 1, and that will be equal to 0. So the voltage V1 comes across this 6 ohm only. So the voltage across 6 ohm will be equal to 6 times I2. The current flowing through the 6 ohm is I2 only. So V1 will be equal to 6 times I2. So we can write V1 is equal to 6 times I2, or V1 by I2 is equal to 6. And V1 by I2 is Z12. So Z12 is equal to V1 by I2 with I2 equal to 0, and that is 6. So we have obtained all the 4 Z parameters. So Z parameters are Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22, and that is equal to Z12 and Z21 are 6 ohm, and Z11 is 9 ohm, and Z22 is 10 ohm. So we can write Z11 is 9, 6, 6 and 10. So these are the Z parameters. Now we'll see the second method of finding the Z parameters. So in the first method, what we have done is we have found the Z parameters by setting the input port to 0 and setting the output port to 0. Now we'll see the second method, that is a network was like this. 3, 4 and 6. So what we are going to do is this is V1. The voltage at the output port is V2. Now we are going to consider this current. So this current is I1 and this current is I2. So I am going to mark this as I1 and this current. So I am taking this current in the counterclockwise direction. So this is I2. So we can write KVL equations for the first and the second mesh. So it becomes V1 minus 3I1 minus 6 into, here the currents coming across 6 ohm, current flowing through 6 ohm is I1 and I2, and both are in the same direction, so we can write it as I1 plus I2. So minus 6 into I1 plus I2 is equal to 0. So V1 is the voltage at the input, that minus the drop across this 3 ohm, so that is 3I1 minus 3I1, and the drop across 6 ohm, so that is minus 6 into I1 plus I2 is equal to 0. So this can be written as V1 minus 3I1 minus 6I1 minus 6I2 equal to 0, or this can be written as V1 is equal to 9I1 plus 6I2. Now we will write KVL for the second loop, that is V2 minus 4I2 minus 6 into I1 plus I2 is equal to 0. So V2 minus drop across 4 ohm, that is 4I2, and the drop across 6 ohm, that is minus 6 into I1 plus I2 is equal to 0. V2 minus 4I2 minus 6 into I1 plus I2 equal to 0. So this can be written as V2 minus 4I2 minus 6I1 minus 6I2 equal to 0, or V2 is equal to 6I1 plus 10I2. So these are the two equations, and we can compare these two equations with a standard equation, that is V1 is equal to Z11I1 plus Z12I2, and V2 is equal to Z21I1 plus Z22I2. So let this be equation 3 and this be equation 4. So if we compare 1 and 3, we can see that V1 is equal to 9I1 plus 6I2, and V1 is equal to Z11I1 plus Z12I2. So from these two equations, we will get Z11 as 9 ohm, Z12 as 6 ohm. And if we compare these two equations, equations 2 and 4, we can see that V2 is equal to 6I1 plus 10I2. That is, V2 is equal to Z21I1 plus Z22I2. So comparing these two, we will get Z21 is equal to 6 ohm and Z22 is equal to 10 ohm. So we can write the Z parameters Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22 is equal to 9, 6, 6, 10. So these are the two methods of solving. This is a parameter problem. Thank you.